Hi everyone, my name is Guillaume. I don't expect people to know me that much, so I'm an agile coach, right? That's what I've been doing. I used to be a coder 20 years ago, and something like 12 years ago, I drifted from consultant to actually doing this, agile coaching. That's a yes, and now switching. Wait a second, I'm setting on my technical stuff. Perfect, okay. So what's my story with transformation? I would put it around 2011. I was in a port of France, which is not Paris, where I was coaching a couple of teams. And pretty soon, with other colleagues, right? We were a group of consultant and coach helping them. And pretty soon we realized that what's at stake was beyond the typical team coaching. Their point was not to be agile, their point was to save their company. Literally, the project failing was about to sink the whole company. For me, this is the day I started to realize I could not approach in a simple way I used to do, trying to give people practices and principles. There was something deeper at stake. There was fear, and a justified fear, and there was anguish, there was passion, and then there was stake. So for the first time, I opened books about change management to understand how to handle these reactions of everyone. So the book was called Leading Change by John Kotter. That is not the point of my presentation, even though I may refer to it a couple of times. The point for me is, with my colleagues at Octo at the time, this is where we went from a mindset where we're just coaching people to do agile to actually helping them transform their enterprise. We understood there was something deep in the organization that has to change, and suddenly agility and the practices were not just a question. So that's how it started for me, how to help people transform their company. And so fast forward a couple of years, I'm here I'm now in Singapore, I'm no more in France. But what I've seen back in France and here, well, typical process, right, that we hear about agile transformation. People take a big plan, or boss, leaders, try to find an approach that would work for them. And they pick a framework, then they bring a lot of coaches and a lot of consultants, hundreds, if not thousands of hours of trainings, and they roll it out. They roll out agile to teams by pack of 10 teams, and then 10 teams, and then 10 teams. And after all, isn't that just like rolling out Windows Update? So they hope it's going to work this way. But for I'm seeing, my point, most of the companies are here, their transformation are dragging and dragging. And it's been 7 or 8 years for some of them. I think if we want to know what's happening, basically my point is, what are people saying when they undergo agile transformation? Last Friday, I'm at a dinner and I met somebody that I don't know. That person is in IT. She's a cybersecurity expert for a big company. And while we introduce each other, I just mentioned I'm an agile coach. That look she gave me, you're one of them. I see. All right. Yeah, you're an agile coach. Get it. And basically, I'm a bozo, and probably I'm trouble for her. Or people like me are trouble for her. And it's not like it happened once. It happened all the time. By the way, feel free to share some of your hints in the chat. That really helped me understand if you hear me well or if you react. Feel free to share reaction. We don't have a streaming system. We're not on Twitch, but I really love that. So I'll let that happen to you too. You introduce your function. You talk about agile, and some people are excited, but some people really take down. What do they talk about? They talk about trying to do method in an organization in a schizophrenic manner. They talk about being tired of having to fulfill the new ways of doing story points and velocity and short-term release, and satisfying the old ways of working from the rest of the organization. People work in waterfall, doing waterfall workload in an agile time frame, so triple the workload, and doing story points for velocity, but also doing man hours for the whole accounting system. So they have to do two and their intention, not mentioning that they are usually bothering the production who's not ready to get there. The business is not super into it, so they just don't want to hear about that stuff because they're not being onboarded. And the people undergoing that agile transformation, they're just freaking tired. And they're in pain. And the change fatigue is real. And that's what I hear when that makes me so frustrated, because that's not the point, right? When we do agile, usually the reason is to do great stuff, to work better, to have less problems, and to have results. Some people answer that. Some people are excited. I mean, I've been doing that work for 10 years. I guess I've been called back by clients. People talk back. Hopefully, you can have great results. That is the point. So why people are tired? Because they are in the discomfort zone. All the little factors I mentioned, all their complaints, all their rants, they used to be where they are in their career, which is usually going up, because they did what they do, because they do what they know, because they're competent. And now we're telling them we're going to do something different. So suddenly they're not so competent. They are in the discomfort zone, out of the comfort zone. And that is, it's fun sometimes, it can be exciting, but when you stay there, and you don't reach another moment when you just feel like, I have it at hand, I'm master, I know what's going on, I'm competent, I can chill a bit. When you don't reach there, you get tired. And the problem with transformation that are dragging for years is that people get freaking fatigued. Just a little to set the stage a little bit. What I do care about having successful and fast transformation is, okay, this is not really a fact, this is my own assessment, what I observe. Usually, when you have a part of an organization that try to go agile and fail, all possible reasons, some will say, usually, it's not like people will just try again the next month or the next year. Usually, my observation, it takes 2 to 5 years before any other attempt to go agile will start. Just to clear the air, right? To keep our eyes on the ball. You don't go agile for going agile. Usually, you have something at stake. You want your company to be, I don't know, more competitive, or you want to change the way you talk with customers, or you want to, I don't know, maybe have a more resiliency. Quite the topic nowadays in this pandemic era. But so you have problems that are pushing you to go toward agile and to have more agility. So when you don't succeed, my observation is it takes 2 to 5 years. So why is it? Because usually people try and it doesn't work and they struggle. And the point is there's an excitement at the beginning, the excitement fade out. And at some point, there's a boss that would say, let's just stop the circus, people. We spend a lot on this agile stuff. We have a lot of disturbance in the organization, but we just don't get results. Why is my superb agility, fun, profit, whatever? I just don't have that. So let's acknowledge this is not working for us. So everybody back to work, we stop the agile stuff. And for a while, agile won't be exactly a topic to bring up if you're a management or a director. It won't be trendy in the company. So people will try to go back at their way of working. They will still have the same problem they had in the first place that pushed them to go agile. So it will go for, I see, 2 to 5 years. Then someday, a new director will come in and will shake the tree again and say, guys, that's not possible. All the problems we're having. Why the hell did we fail to go agile? Our competitors are going agile. Let's just give it another try. In a proper way, in a non-proper way. My point is, when you fail, you probably go back 2 or 5 years in your learning of agility. And remember, in this moment, people are fatigued. So that means they're going to have another transfer and another transfer. If you're looking for competitiveness, I'm not sure losing to 2 to 5 years is actually very interesting as a delay. So that's why for me, it matters. Transformation should go fast because people are tired through the transformation. But at the same time, if you want the company to be better, you got to make it happen. So why? Why is it failing? Why is it so hard? Because that's probably the first point to acknowledge. Transformation are extremely difficult. And the key point is to look at the complexity that is underlying when you undergo an agile transformation. It's a complex business. Okay, business complexity, sorry, just a little clarifications. I don't know if people are familiar with notion of complexity, so I'll give you my lingo, okay? This is what you see here, this is the Stacy matrix. Somebody who tried to formalize what we mean by complexity. Basically, how much unknown you have about the solution you're trying to create and how much unknown you have about the problem you're trying to address. How good I am at understanding the problem, how good I am at creating a solution for that. The two axes are not very important. What matters is, so when it's simple, let's say painting a simple room, right? Easy. You don't even have to ask. You can just go by the paint. You know how you're going to proceed. You can plan it out in advance. Okay. But when it's becoming a little more complicated, let's say build a whole building, maybe an industrial one, some specific constraints. Okay. Probably you will need some expertise to do that. You will need some people to assess the buildings, how it is. If there's some particular type of paint to use. But the point is, with the right expertise, you can figure out your plan from beginning to the end. You know what is the last thing you are going to do, right? It's going to be the last layer in the last room. So you can predict, make a plan, and roll it out. It's going to work. But when you enter the complex territory, the formulation for that is, this is the moment you don't have predictability. You will have to start doing what you do. So whatever the project you're trying to undergo, you will have to start and then to see what's happening. Simple example, look, basketball game. No matter your plan, you enter on the field and then you have your opponents that will play against you. You have no idea what you are going to do at the last 5 minutes of a basketball game. You are prepared for that, but you will have to figure it out as you go through the game, understand how your adversary is responding, etc. You cannot predict. Just because there's so many humans in front of you, you don't have all control. And I don't want to overthink the notion of complexity. The point is, you cannot predict. So you cannot make a plan. You cannot plan every freaking minute of your basketball game. You got to go and see what's happening and remember what you have and have a couple of seconds. Just to go through the whole point, the last part is the chaos part. Basically, whatever you do, you don't see the relation between what you do and what comes out, the input and the output. So we call it the chaotic zone. No matter what you do, but the point is, don't get there, right? You can't even undergo a project over here. But so what do we know about agile transformation? First one, what makes them so complex? I think it's good to remember that these are several transformations into one. You're not just adopting a couple of practices, say, to change the way if you're in IT, your delivery teams are working, your coding teams are working. No, there's going to be more of that. You are going first. We say transformation because we change something regarding the nature of your organization, something deep, something at the core. But when we talk about agility, you're going to change the way you do project management and then product management. And also you're going to probably touch the way you do hiring and career management and maybe legal even, and budgeting and portfolio management and communication and transparency and risk management and management behaviors and leadership. You are going to go through my representation here is not just changing the color. The nature of what you are will be changing several times. Basically, you have no idea after 1 or 2 years in an agile transformation. I'm telling you, you have no idea how your organization is going to be in 2 years through the transformation. You have no idea how your organization is going to look at the end of it, it's going to be a different organization, different from today. So good luck predicting that. And now, we're not exactly talking with robots, we're talking with humans. And humans are smart, they think, and they have emotions. And when they go through a change, they have different ways to react to it. Some people are excited. Some people are a bit afraid. Some people are conservatives. Some people are freaking innovators who keep actually breaking rules. Some are just okay to go with the flow. They will see what happens. They don't want to be first in line, but they're okay to be second in line in the change. And you can't exactly handle how everyone will predict all this. So, sorry, little technical glitch, not on your side. All right, over for that. So, what that means is, you can't exactly predict how everybody's going to react, no matter what people try to say. We had horrible stories in France about some companies, big companies, where people thought they could actually just, I don't know, figure out the universal process for people to change and actually force them through the process. Horrible result. I'm talking horrible, not anything. But here's the thing. You want your company is a network, not just hierarchy, but people talk. They have coffee, they take lunch together, and not just colleagues. They, through division, through organization, network you can't see. They talk, so they go playing badminton together, they go do sports. So you have all these people who react differently and influence each other and talk. Like the density of this network, the level, you have no idea how they're going to talk and influence each other, or you have no idea in advance. You literally can predict that. So basically, several transformations in a row, people are reacting as a network. Agile organization, we're here. We're on a high level of complexity. All right, we cannot predict that. So first thing I want to tackle here. We're fighting complexity, right? So just looking at the science of things. So I'm going to tackle a couple of things through this presentation. I just don't want it to be about people, but just, okay. First, you do not handle well transformation by adding people. I'm quoting some books I will mention, like books like Good to Great did a lot of studies. Book like the Kotter, Leading Chain and Accelerate from Kotter. They also did studies on a lot of companies. Nowhere define, for example, a dedicated transformation team under leadership. That is just adding more complexity to your organization. And you do not address complexity by adding more complexity. More things with more complexity. So who should be transforming your company? The people of the company, the existing leadership and managers. You can have networks, but you cannot add a separate, well, where am I? You cannot add an extra layer of people and hope this is going to be better. What I see usually, I mean, I've been part of that. Okay, I've seen that. I've been part of that. I'm sure you did. I'm sure many of the, if you've been an agile coach, you'll be part of that. The problem with this type of dedicated team is, look, you introduce a new level, for example. What has been complexity? New level of politics, an agenda, a different agenda from the rest of the leadership sometimes. So you have more tension, and you don't exactly, nothing great coming out of that. Nothing really great. So, nah, not really working. You have complexity, and but these are just manifestation of what it means to add people. Another way to add people, yeah, let's see. Adding an army of coaches. What does that mean? And once again, I've been part of that. If you add too many people around, coaching all the teams at once, you are creating a level of complexity you will not handle. I've been in the teams, you get high, and you tend to get too away from the field, actually, too far from the people. You start to have your coaching thinking and agendas and struggles. Also, good luck hiring good coaches by the mass. And there I lost my remote. Good luck hiring so many coaches, good coaches at once, right? So army of coach, same to me, it's fallacy. It just doesn't work because if we look at the complexity, we're not reducing the complexity, we're actually creating more. So that was. Why am I calling that? Okay. So what do we know about agile transformation? We should be simplifying. We should be taking into account the human dynamics. And once again, we don't know where we're going to go, so we need to have an exploratory approach. But just to sum it up, the exploratory approach, what I mean by that is, look, if you my point in this session is to give you tools so you can see also why things don't work and what could be done differently, right? So the main question I always have in mind is when you look at whatever is the strategy or the plan for agile transformation in your company, you cannot predict the end. So my point is, this is not a painting job. You cannot predict it. So if you look at something and you realize, well, it seems like we have something ready to roll out down to the end, you got it wrong sometimes. You're assuming you can predict. Somebody's assuming you can predict. Okay. So this is a journey beyond your horizon. You got to be prepared for uncharted territories, exploratory. How do we approach uncharted territories? I am not going to go to the two books I just named after. One is Leading Change from John Kotter, but just to give you a couple of hints, how do you do it? You have to have a vision, so you know where you go, and you have to have a strategy. This is the little map drawing that I did, so you know where you're going. You know which goal you want to pick here, and then here, and then here. But you don't exactly, you have a map where you go, but you don't exactly have a step-by-step approach. You will have to figure that out and review your map on the go. Sometimes review your strategy and make sure you're still going toward your vision. That's how you do. But you don't blend steps one by one from beginning to the end. That just is not effective. Refer to this great book, Leading Change, if you want to know about it, or things that John Kotter has wrote. Good to Great for me is just a lot of great insight, literally not about IT. None of these books actually are about IT or agility, but Good to Great is a lot of insights for companies who transform themselves from good to great. Couple of hints quickly, how you address that when you have a vision. How you do not push a rollout to people, actually. You explain the vision. You explain, you explain, you explain, you explain, you explain. You should be bothering people with your explanation. At a cocktail party, you should still be trying to explain your vision. People should just like push you back. We get it, we know where we're going. We said it, like I can tell, you tell me 3 times just the last week. I know, stop it, just stop it. That is the right level of explaining. What is the not right level of explaining your vision? I would say 3 town hall a year or 4 town hall a year. Now, that is just a couple of messages in the wind for one game. So usually, I'm with Kotter on that. When you fail at talking about your vision and explaining it, you're just missing it by a factor 100, not just 1 or 2. 100, not enough. But just to be accurate, we say explain, but then you explain to people down to the bottom of your company, everybody, right? But then you have to listen how they respond to that. And then you got to improve your plan and your strategy or your way to explain it. Because you got basically 2 points, right? If you explain it to people and they don't get it, 2 options. 1, you're not good at explaining. Because people are smart, right? So they would get it. So you're not good at explaining. So learn to explain better. And 2, or it doesn't make sense for them because literally your strategy doesn't make sense for them. So you got to review your strategy or your vision, because that doesn't work for the people in your company where they are. That's a good place. So what do we see working? The real thing that I see in all the good change that I'm lucky enough to have seen and helped, maybe, but on other companies. The first point is you got to do it right at small scale. What do we mean right? Let's just reset the expectations. Look, you don't go to an agile team and expect them to just be okay or all right, not even good. I'm sorry. When you're going to go agile, the powerful tools we're giving to agile team when we're coaching them I mean, coaching, because I'm a coach, but if you're a manager or a leader or an agile influencer in the company, in the organization, it's the same. We want them to be freaking great. I mean, it's just, this is my dope in my job. I just see people becoming freaking good as a team. I was visiting last month. I was visiting a team of my clients. I coached them a year ago. I come back and I'm blown away. They kept progressing and progressing. Every time I think, because I'm here to supervise them, every time I think I will have something to say, maybe you could do a little bit of this and blah. No, later down the meeting they tackle it. That I just don't have anything to tell them. Of course, they have more challenges, but just my experience is when a sponsor comes into one of the first agile team, they see them working. For example, they are invited at a retrospective. They look at the team and they get out of the meeting like, damn, I wish my board meeting were this good. And that's the level we're looking for. Typically, but I'm talking about, it has to be great in terms of outcome, right? Now, it has to be great in terms of outcome. And from there, the great results should speak for themselves, the great result from this team. And just to talk about timeline, I'm expecting the team to start to do things that was not possible before through, let's say, after 3 months starting in the job. That should be the timeline, just to give you an idea, compared to what I call struggling and dragging a transfer. If your team doesn't start to have achievements, even small, because some projects are of 3 or 6 months and longer, of course, but if you don't start to see very different things happening in that place where the team works within 3 or 6 months, probably this is not great. This is not good enough. Typical one. Team have more problems or handle the same problem, but they have less delay. So apparently, they're attacking problems faster than we think. We see risk going up and then going down. Because apparently, I don't know, they're just handling them. Less bug in production, you name them. But great, freaking great results. And you should see them how proud they are. What's going on from there when you start like that? The great results speak for themselves. And people will value, that's another thing, so it's not a super visual, but people will start to look at that team and hear about it. And they like that. And they like that. And I know, because the way I know that, when I'm helping a client transforming, after we coach 1 or 2 teams, usually say, 6 months, somebody will come from another division or something and will come to me like, hey, I was talking with that guy because he's kind of a friend of mine, the one of the team you've been coaching, and I decided to try it out on my own, but we're struggling a little bit. So can you help us? And that's the point. When the results are great, people are actually starting to try it out on their own, outside of any agenda. Just because, damn, if the team has less problem, of course they want it. And that's the flywheel of great results. This is the high expectation we're looking for. So from there, the way it spreads is actually an organic growth. So people pick it up because it's great. There's great results, so more people want to be part of that or want to try it out. And all the reaction can come on their time. The one who want to be, say, frontliner, the one who want to try the change, but just a little bit after the other. The point is, it becomes an organic matter. What does it mean? So this is a network, right? People talk, I say lunch, cafeteria, everything. Oh my God, you had that with your team. You seem happier now. What's going on with you? I mean, happier, sorry, I'm not about happiness at work. I'm about fulfillment or achievement. Like, yeah, you got good stories. People talk and they try to reproduce that. And what you do as a change leader from there, you got to nurture this greatness. And when I mean nurture, let's get away of this metaphor. For example, once you have 1 or 2 teams who start to be good, you will ask them to help the next team that will start to go a job. They will talk. You can start to create communities of practices, so they will start to talk together. You can take, for example, young product owner that struggle a lot but really deliver. You can ask that person to share her experience to other teams who are wondering, or the next, if you have some, I don't know, you got to advertise that and make people take more leadership to go influence the rest of the team. That's what I call nurturing. Where it's important is sometimes I unfortunately saw some moment you see team doing great stuff. great starts in Agile. They have results, but just people don't talk about it. The organization is being doing something else. Sometimes some directors change. Just that's not the topic of the day, and we just forget that something great freaking happened. So let's forget. My point, as a change leader, you should nurture that. That's what I mean. You should support them when they have struggle. When the team start to look at the rest of the organization, they will start to ask if we can change processes not within the team but outside the team. And this is where the empire can strike back and push them back into the former world. So your job at that time is to make sure that you help them increase it. That's what I call nurturing. I feel free to ask in the Q&A because I'm happy to bring. To me, it has to. There are very practical actions you can do to actually nurture that. So, of course, there's some influence with growth. But if I'm thinking of a metaphor of that type of leadership, I call it almost you are like a gardener. Okay. And just to pause a little bit, just to look back. Do you realize suddenly how simple your job is? It's not easy, but it's simple. You make people go, you make things go great. I mean, you let people do great, and then you support them to be better. You support other people who want to have a taste of that. You support the creation of more, say, spread in the company, but you are not creating the spread of the good things. You are supporting them, bring your resources in them, inviting them. But just suddenly, you don't have to deal with so much crap because it gets better and people will want it. And that is, to me, the one click that already we're doing something that is fighting complexity because we have an approach that is simple. I wouldn't say easy. Because the point is, you got to stand for greatness. You got to make it stand. And that's not really looking cool sometimes. What does it mean? When you start to have something that grows, and suddenly, it's not so good. Or team starting not so great. Or you decided you had 2-3 teams going well, and you decided to help 5 teams starting in a job. And it's not going so good suddenly. You start to you don't see the same outstanding obvious results anymore. This is where simple advice, but a hard one. You gotta have courage to just freaking slow down. Step back. Step back and try to fix what you got and make sure it becomes great again. Or it becomes great. Or eventually you can sell it and retry. But you do not want to let go of something that is not great because when we say not great, when a team is starting Agile, it doesn't work so well, they have struggles and problems. And they're creating disturbances. Any Agile team is creating disturbances in a system that's not Agile. But if you have that and you scale the problems. So good luck with them. So where it takes some courage as any management leader is when you're going to slow down things or step back. We did that a year ago with a client I'm helping, I'm still helping. We realized one team actually that we thought would start easy had unforeseen difficulties, and the coaching would drag a bit. So it took more like it took more like 3 months, 4 months. We thought it would take 3 months, 4 months instead of taking 1 or 2. So we actually pause some team that were about to start Agile. We had some that went through trainings already and kick off. We actually put them on hold. I mean, their Agile transformation, we put it on hold so we could focus on the team that were already in there but were struggling a little bit. And it took us a lot more time. I won't get into this, but when it's easier to get things right from the start, but we know they were struggling, so we put more attention to them and more focus until they found their way to greatness, and suddenly their team clicked and it went well. Then it was time to actually bring the other team to agility if they wanted, the one that asked for it. But this is what I mean by slow down. And that doesn't look cool in the boardroom. That doesn't look cool in your reports. That means actually you're going slow on the KPI. But what I mean by that is you cannot imagine how fast this organic growth could be if your teams are doing great. That, I mean, the slow way is the fastest way. And well, let's just talk yours, right? When I say some of the many companies are here, you hear about agile transformation for what, 7 years, 8 years, you know? And it's just not that they have, nobody in there is reporting outstanding great results. But you got to look at companies who did one. What I mean, ING did a transformation to agility. Saab, who does the planes and vehicles. Lego did a transformation to agility. Intel did a transformation to agility. And when you look, of course, they're not exactly out of it. It's at some point never in the journey, but I would say you hear something around 3 to 5, 6 years. People say the overall trends for this could be 10, but 3 to 5 years, right? And my expectation is after only 1 year, I want to see something very different at the client. Like I say, people pick it up. And through 1 or 2 years, you should look back and the organization should already be different, look different. Like you organize retrospective to see where you go, where normally people were like, wow, we really made some progress. Like we're living we kind of live in another world within 1 or 2 years. That's what I mean by going fast. And this you achieve by actually taking the time to let them be great. Because when they're going to be great, they are going to change the organization, and the speed of that, the speed when you only have great results and you do compromise with that is nuts. This is how you get transformation within 2, 3, 4, 5 years only. When you make a stand for greatness. All right, I get a little bit emotional on this. So what doesn't work? Let's on that. I think just simply put all the. So that one I don't exactly say go with the flow of the markets, but the point is all the strategies to me that I see that are about going big, just don't work. Why? Exactly for what we saw. Because you want to force out things usually before it's actually great. Usually that means you need to put more resource, a lot more coaches or consultants, and it's just not there. Like you will scale non-good results to the point that, so today, personally, I don't use the word scale. And I don't call for acceleration. Technically, the word is true. Some of the things you got to do when you are actually accompanying the growth of the practices in your company, technically you are trying to do some things more at scale. It does apply. But as an intent, to me, it's extremely misleading. You do not scale things. You see them scaling because you are nurturing them, what I said before. And same way, you do not accelerate. And personally, I've seen that, and I believe in that. Scale, accelerate. I mean, it is absolutely true that you should have very fast transformation, because people are experiencing discomfort, and the faster you go, the better, the easier it gets. That's good for people, and that's good for your result. But true. But me looking at speed of transformation, scaling and accelerating as an intent, as an approach, is just bring crap. I mean, I don't know. Well, not everybody, but 95%. You just look around, you ask. I've been part of that. So to me, that's a fallacy. You don't actually go fast transformation and broaden out by going big. That is not the approach you have in mind. One little trick, look at the time. Okay, one little trick. Can somebody remind me how much we have still? Whatever, just ring me. We haven't eaten 30, right?
We still have 4.5 minutes.
4.5 minutes. Okay.
Yeah.
We'll go on this one quickly. The point with loosening up is just one thing that don't work either is to bring more rules and standards to your teams, right? People already have constraints, and then you go and you bring them the agile constraints and the agile practices, and suddenly they just can't move anymore. So you're adding more constraints to the structure. So am I really saying that standardizing the practices is a fallacy? Am I saying that having synchronization of everything through the whole company is a fallacy? I'm mixed about that. Some is required, but for real, my most cautious approach today, I simply call it reluctant standardization. and reluctant synchronization. And I forgot to write the word. Reluctantly, I forbade some teams to synchronize. I forbade some teams to have a reproduction of their practices among each other. Okay. But the one secret sauce, I don't know why we don't hear about that one. Google did it, Amazon did it, all the great companies did it, and nobody talks about it. The real true core agile approach that will get you to the moon. It's just called, when you have it, so the company, they have a very specific approach, the companies I mentioned. I don't know why there's no book about it. When they have a new challenge in their transformation, they just think it through. In French, démerdez-vous. In appropriate English, think it through. In another English, think this shit through. Okay. I'm just so surprised, for example, when people have want to do agile portfolio. Look, it's a thing now. You have very methods to say we do agile portfolio, so it's super seductive. They have it figured out. Portfolio, agile, wow. Portfolio like strategic level. Look, I've seen many companies and clients actually doing agile portfolio before it was a thing. Because when you have so much agile experience that your team has been working for it, and when you have so much agile progress that it's challenging the way you do your strategic portfolio, usually that means you already have people who know very well portfolio, the ins and outs, the practices, the classic way, and you already have a lot of skills for changing your organization in an agile way. You probably have seen a lot of other components, management, and all. So suddenly you put 2 and 2 in the room, 3 people, 1 whiteboard, and you see how you can handle your portfolio, but this time redoing it in an agile manner, changing your process, changing your document. Honestly, most of these practices you should think it through. You can. The point is you can do it. So the one thing that I really don't think is working is to have methods are Bibles and using a cookie cutter approach. Like just agile works because every team builds the practices that are so specific to them. So no, the time for you to pick the right practice, see if it's working for you, maybe adapt it or not, try it out, it's not working, so let's get another one, or let's change it, well, wait, maybe you didn't do wrong. Like, no, instead of that, I'm saying just get in a room and figure out your own practice, and figure out your own challenge, and figure out your own, I don't know, agile portfolio, agile legal, right? Agile HR. You have to become an innovating company. That's the conclusion I hear and see from everything from Kotter to Good to Great, and all experiences. After they went through transformation, they just keep spinning and innovating and growing and growing. And because they're good, they don't have the time to read all the books and take all the methods of the Bible. But the elephant in the room. Do you need an enterprise framework? What about that? Very famous, right? It's a lot of money around this thing nowadays. I feel like a moron to not, I don't know, have my own enterprise framework. Here's the point. No matter the approach, an enterprise framework, it's a giant enterprise cookie cutter. You are telling people in all the approach that you hear to talk about agile framework that did succeed. It's on YouTube and all. You have some superstar of agile who are telling you, we took it, but then we removed it and we removed that. Or you have to cherry pick the right things in the enterprise framework to be doing it. Yeah, but the guy is a star. He knows what to pick, but what you don't know. So I've been part of a very smart group of coach and transforming team and all, using enterprise framework, thinking it's just gonna be for reference. Yeah, only 1 or 2 minutes. It's just gonna be for reference. At some point, you have a paper that says your whole enterprise, we have practices for them, and we have a system, and we have it all figured out. So you're trying to say, don't go cookie cutter, but you have a poster that tells you, we have a giant cookie cutter. Someday, at some point, the form goes against your message. So to me, enterprise framework have a form problem. They are actually going against what makes the transformation work. They are not telling you to think it through. They are telling you, we have it figured out, so why don't you roll it out to everybody right now? And this is what happened. This is what people are saying. To wrap it up, to me, the first realization, and we are in an unpredictable journey. We're doing it for humans, with the humans, and by humans. We're trying to get in a dynamic when we nurture an organic process that is based on having great stuff happening. And what we're trying to emulate from the beginning to be a learning and innovating organization from day one. And I hope if we get there, we as agile practitioners are going to have less of these weird eyes like that, because people will stop suffering in the transformation, and eventually they will start to feel great for themselves, and they will start to feel they're part of an organization that is actually becoming freaking great. Thank you.